wearing plaid pajama pants and a faded Harvard Law hoodie, sipping his morning Earl Grey as if he were on a front porch instead of an old wooden bridge about to meet a bulldozer's blade. The demolition foreman shouted over the engine, "Sir, you need to clear the structure now." Robert didn't even glance up. "Son, this bridge has survived 2 world wars and 4 hurricanes. I laid some of these stones with my own hands back in '73. If Miss Madison Turner and her army of clipboard commandos think they're running me off, they've got another thing coming." I nearly jumped out of my pickup while it was still rolling, yelling, "Uncle Robert," just as the bulldozer slammed into a side beam. He drained the last sip of tea, stepped off with theatrical calm, and behind him the bridge groaned and collapsed into the creek, a slow-motion avalanche of timber and a century of family history. He turned to me, brushing sawdust off his sleeves, and said, "They just declared war on the wrong retired federal judge." It hadn't started with wrecking balls. It started, like most petty neighborhood tyrannies, with something trivial. A few months back, the Sleepy Homeowners Association near Robert's property got overtaken by a new board who branded themselves the Sycamore Grove Community Council. It sounded gentle, but within weeks they were fining folks for bird feeders, porch wind chimes, and one poor kid's plastic scooter polluting the curb aesthetic. But their prize crusade was my uncle's bridge. That bridge wasn't just a piece of old wood across Cotton Creek. It was a family legacy. Robert had restored it himself, sourcing stones from a historic quarry dating back to the Revolutionary era. It straddled his property line where the land met the creek, nowhere near any HOA jurisdiction. Not that it mattered to Madison Turner, the newly minted HOA president. Madison was the type to laminate her own business cards for an unpaid role. Legend has it she once called animal control because a neighbor's goldfish bowl violated local aquatic ordinances. She declared the bridge an unsightly hazard, rattled off fake safety codes, and even filed a report claiming possible snake infestation. When Robert received that nonsense, he fired back with a polite but razor-sharp 3-page letter quoting federal heritage statutes, municipal easement law, and a pointed note about the bridge's inclusion in the state's historic civil engineering registry. Madison countered by slapping a neon sticker on the bridge. "Scheduled for removal. HOA compliance required." Robert peeled it off, mailed it back with "return to sender." "Unlawful nonsense" scribbled across it. You'd think that would be the end. But clipboard tyrants never know when to quit. Her next move, increasingly hysterical letters. One accused him of undermining neighborhood beautification goals, whatever that meant. Another claimed the bridge posed a national security threat due to aging support beams. We laughed about that one until we nearly choked. Then came the forged demolition order. It looked official, fake county seals, a phony inspector's signature. Robert, unsurprisingly, smelled the forgery a mile away. He called the real county office to confirm. They laughed and assured him no permit had ever been filed. So we chalked it up to more empty threats. What we didn't know was that Madison Turner had decided to bulldoze it anyway. I was on my way to spend the weekend when I spotted the heavy machinery rolling off the highway. At first, I thought it was road repair. Then my gut twisted as I realized they were headed straight for the creek. By the time I slammed my brakes in the driveway, the damage was halfway done, contractors hauling timbers, the foreman barking orders, and Madison herself standing smug at the bank's edge with an iced latte and her phone, streaming live like she was announcing a ribbon cutting. She turned to me with a satisfied grin. "You're welcome. Now your uncle can take the main road like everyone else." I was about to yell when Robert appeared behind me, calm as ever. He handed her a thick manila envelope, a federal injunction he'd drafted weeks ago just in case. "You might want to consult a lawyer, preferably one who knows the federal vandalism statute." Madison cackled, flipping through the papers like they were grocery coupons. "This was a community improvement. Don't be so dramatic." Robert's eyes twinkled. "Ma'am, you just destroyed a historic structure listed on the State Preservation Registry on private land, using fake documents with no permit. You didn't just mess with a bridge. You messed with me." He turned to me, that old chessmaster smile on his lips. "Call Caroline in D.C. Tell her it's go time." Caroline, my cousin, just so happens to work for the Department of Justice. That evening, as we salvaged pieces of the bridge from the creek bed, I realized Robert hadn't been blindsided at all. He knew someday Madison would push too far. He just hadn't expected she'd hand him the entire case on a silver platter. By dawn, our kitchen table looked like the headquarters for a federal sting operation. coffee brewed, printer word. Folders labeled HOA malfeasance stacked high. I offered to fry eggs. He waved me off. Justice first. Cholesterol later. He wasn't angry in the way normal people get angry. He was methodical. Surgical. The same measured calm he used when he once made a corrupt state senator weep on national TV. By lunch, we'd unearthed every relevant statute. The HOA's own charter, annotated in Robert's precise hand, revealed they had zero authority over structures beyond the main road. And the real dagger, a clause explicitly banning use of HOA funds for any project not properly voted on. She'd broken her own beloved bylaws. 6 times. Our next stop. The county assessor's office. The clerk recognized Robert instantly. Judge Whitaker, she squeaked, starstruck. He gave her a kind nod. Just here for the fireworks paperwork. She blinked until he slid the fake demolition order across the counter. She squinted at the bogus seal. Oh no. This is forged and not even well. It says Parks and Recreation. Classic Madison. Incompetent even in her crime. She printed us a notarized statement. No permit ever filed. She also handed over 2 memos from the State Preservation Office confirming the bridge's protected status and that a federal grant had been approved for its restoration just the week prior. Back home, we found a young contractor named Logan pacing nervously at our gate. Hard hat in hand, boots covered in creek mud. I didn't know, he blurted. She said it was a hazard. Showed us an order. Paid cash up front. Said if we asked questions we'd never work in Sycamore Grove again. Robert offered him lemonade, then politely asked if he'd repeat that on record. Logan nodded. He even handed over a copy of the work order, complete with Madison's scribbles. Removed before the county can interfere. That night, Robert called an old friend, Deborah, director of the State Historical Trust. Over barbecue and bourbon, she reviewed our evidence. This is catastrophic for her, Deborah whistled. Vandalism of a protected site? That's state and federal. Robert raised his glass. Then let's proceed with style. Meanwhile, in her echo chamber of yes men, Madison celebrated like a dictator toppling a statue. She flooded the HOA Facebook page with photos of the bulldozed wreckage, captioned, "Eyesore eliminated. Progress." Residents weren't buying it. Old Mrs. Holloway posted, "I was married on that bridge. Shame on you." Another neighbor wrote simply, "You didn't have the right." Robert printed every comment, highlighting each one that showed neighborhood outrage. Then he drafted an open letter, crisp, factual, devastating, explaining the illegal demolition, the forged documents, and the upcoming legal consequences. He mailed copies to every doorstep in Sycamore Grove. 2 days later, Madison called a last-ditch emergency HOA meeting. Rumor said she tried to spin it as heroic community leadership. But a nervous board member dropped off a USB drive at our door that night. "Thought you'd want this," he mumbled before bolting. The recording was gold. Madison, cornered by neighbors, snapping, "I don't need permits. That old man can sue me all he wants. No judge will side with him over progress." Robert filed suit 3 days later. The charges: property destruction, fraud, trespass, abuse of power, and violation of federal preservation laws. Plus a personal claim for emotional distress, more poetic punctuation than monetary gain. The local press latched on like sharks smelling blood. Headline: Retired federal judge takes down rogue HOA president. Madison, desperate, hired Derek Slate, a personal injury lawyer who advertised on bus benches. He filed a weak motion claiming the bridge was abandoned communal property. The judge reviewing it dismissed it so fast the ink was still wet. Court day felt like a festival. Locals packed the gallery, murmuring like an audience before a Broadway show. Madison strutted in wearing a neon pantsuit and a smile that looked painted on with a spatula. Robert entered alone, in a tailored gray suit. Calm and immovable, a walking reminder that the law doesn't bend for bullies. The trial unfolded like clockwork. Logan testified. Deborah presented historic registry documents. The coup de grace. The USB recording of Madison bragging about her plan. When Madison took the stand, she tried to pivot to victimhood. Robert just asked 3 questions. Did you get a permit? Did you notify the state? Did you forge the order? Her silence was answer enough. The verdict: HOA guilty of illegal property destruction, fraud, and misuse of funds. Madison Turner personally liable. Fines, restitution, mandatory reconstruction of the bridge, and barred from holding any HOA or civic position in the state ever again. The final twist? A plaque commemorating the bridge's legacy and Robert's fight was unveiled at the community celebration 2 months later. Neighbors showed up with food trucks, folk music, and homemade banners reading, "The bridge that justice rebuilt." Last week, Robert and I stood at the middle of the new bridge, watching the creek dance below. He handed me an envelope, a deed transfer making me co-owner. "You'll protect it next time," he said. "I promise. No more clipboard tyrants." He laughed, clear and free. Above us, the bridge spanned bank to bank, stronger than before, unbroken, right where it belongs.